A lot of people don't have confidence in Arsenal, but there's a core of people who really believe and really know Arsenal are the best team in the world. And they're mostly Tottenham managers. This is the ArsenalVision Post-Match Podcast. My name is Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter. Gunner. Igor Tudor is a silver member. Welcome to the season ticket waiting list. Igor, as he has proclaimed us the best team in the world, following in Thomas Frank's footsteps. All the Tottenham managers do is express their admiration for Arsenal, and I enjoy it. 4-1 is such a good score, we decided to do it again. Eberechi Eze has more goals in North London derbies than Tottenham have in North London derbies over the past several years. Enjoying that aspect of this game. Enjoyed Gyokeres' performance. What a day. Huge thanks to Renee and Samir down in Dallas, the Dallas Gooner Society. Great Arsenal supporter group there. Had a fantastic time at Cosm. Huge thanks to Mazen at Cosm, who is a lovely supporter of the Arsenal and made that a special event. So loved it. I do, on a down note, want to let you know that Wes Rucker, who is a beloved Tennessee sports reporter and huge Arsenal fan, tragically passed away a few days ago, and he leaves behind a wife and young children and a young family. So there's a GoFundMe to help there to support his family in their tragic time of loss. So love and condolences to her and to Wes's young family. But it was a celebratory day for Gooners, and here to celebrate it with me is Clive. Hello, Clive.
Hello.
Tim's connection to our recording platform went full Tottenham. You never go full Tottenham, so he had to drop. Paul will be on again in a future podcast. We do have our monthly Academy pod coming out tomorrow on Patreon. Saliba 50 is a code, a couple quid off, and you will hear everything there is to know about the up-and-coming happenings at the Academy. And there's a lot changing there with Purr's departure and so on. So lots to cover that. We'll have a rewatch of this game, of course, on Wednesday, and then the main pod Thursday, and on we go as I travel over to London to see us beat Chelsea. Can't wait for that. But Clive, these kind of occasions, when they go well, the content is so good. And Dr. Tottenham has delivered us a healthy dose of medicine. So how are you feeling today, thanks to the doctor?
Yeah, I'm a bit tired. I didn't sleep much after Wolves. And now last night, I didn't want to sleep. I just wanted to just scroll. And there's so much stuff coming out about the game. Goal celebrations, fan celebrations, the lot. I have to say, I am a bit concerned, Elliot, because although I am the one that's meant to be the calm one on the podcast, and I'm a bit concerned about how much Arsenal is linked to my mental well-being, because I am a happy man today, and I haven't been happy the last few days, and it's completely flipped my mind around. I'm just looking forward. It's a little bit warmer in the UK today. Before you know it, I'll be cutting my grass and the summer will be out and we'll be hopefully celebrating. That's how it can change really, really quickly compared to the doomy rain of last week and what happened at Wolves. So, yeah, a really positive day, but I'm sure I'm not alone.
Yeah, it's such a fun day. And, I mean, watching their fans trudge out of that stadium having been embarrassed. I mean, they're having a terrible season. They may bounce back next season. I do think that there's a chance. I mean, I want to be careful what I say on an Arsenal podcast, but I even think that they could push for the title next season. And I know that might sound weird, but even as bad as they are, I think they have the quality to win the championship. I do.
You do?
But, it's Tottenham, so maybe not. We'll meet again. Don't know how, don't know when. Yeah, they built this beautiful stadium to get humiliated in, and they're having a crazy season of just repeatedly being humiliated in their stadium while their managers praise Arsenal. It is a beautiful experience for us Arsenal supporters. It really is what we needed too, Clive, because I think the derby isn't just about the title race. It matters in abstraction. And I think it's the perfect game for the moment in the sense that the pressure of the title race and the anxiety and stress of the title race has taken a toll. There's just no denying it. And the Wolves game was a pretty low moment. So then you get a game that matters independent of the title. No matter what happens this season, as miserable as I'll be if we don't do it, 8-2 on aggregate in the derby, 4-1 win away. I think our biggest win away since like the 30s or something when we won the title and Tottenham were relegated.
1978.
Was it away? Yeah. There was a season where they were relegated and we won the title and we won like this. But more of the story is this was a great opportunity for us to focus just on a game that mattered instead of the game in the context of the title, and I think that really helped.
Yeah, let's be honest. The lead up to this game, it was petrifying. Well, I was petrified anyway, and because you think you know what you're watching. You think you can see a team that's improving year on year. Maybe took a sideways step last season, But this season, we've really taken a forward step. But we can debate style, we can debate selections, we can debate rotation, etc. But it's really felt I've had a sort of inner confidence about where we are and what we could achieve. And the European competition has really helped us sustain that and validate that. Obviously, the League Cup final, we don't normally get that far. And we're still in the FA Cup with some favourable draws. So you start to think, oh, this is really, really good. And then you have the Wolves thing. And I know it's only one game, but it was just the manner of it, and maybe the lead up to that, there's been some signs, in other games where we sort of froze a little bit. United, Brentford, Forest not quite delivering. And so the Wolves game was like a real slap in the face, right? Because you're forced to look at yourself, aren't you? You're literally forced to say, oh, okay, this is it. This is it. And then you look at our recruitment, you look at our strategy, you look at everything and think, oh, this is a problem, and then you have the ultimate game, right? You have Spurs away, where it could go either way. New manager, set up for a kick-in, the whole nation watching, one game on Sunday afternoon. Let's see what they got. And we turned up in a nice new tracksuit and sorted them out, didn't we?
Yeah, we really did. And so, look, we could go on and on about how fun it is to beat Spurs and the great memes that come out of it. And Igor Tudor praising us to the rafters, much to their dismay. I mean, he's already got to be on their shit list. He's been there 10 minutes. And they are a terrible team. But Wolves are a terrible team. We didn't do the job. The thing I loved about this game, and we'll get into this, was the joy we showed in the way we attacked. That when it got to 1-1, we were excited to go make it 2-1. But from there, we weren't doing anything but trying to make it 3-1 and then trying to make it 4-1. There was a real urgency and intensity of a desire to attack. And Mikel Arteta was asked after the Wolves game, what would you like Arsenal to do to control these games? And he basically said, I want us to go attack and attack more and attack again and try to get more goals. And it was easy to just sort of say, well, those words are nice, but we need to see it with actions. And the team backed it up with their actions and the way they approached this game in the second half in particular. So I was really excited by that. So let's talk about the early phases of the game. And I guess we can just start with the lineup. Bukayo Saka moves back to right back. The back four stays the same. Eberechi Eze in midfield with Odegaard out. Gyokeres is trusted and Leo comes back into the team. I think it was a good group. And right from the start, Clive, tremendous dominance from Arsenal. I mean, we really showed our intent to quiet down a crowd that was, you always knew it was going to be a struggle for them to stay behind their team. And we got into them early.
Yeah, so your eyes never lie. They always tell you where we are. We started the game, there was a level of urgency there, wasn't there? A level of brightness with our movement and our passing. I thought the first 5 minutes, here we go. This is the team I know. They're on it. Then we have the referee communication issue, and I'm fuming because I think Gyokeres had the shot, when he shifted it onto his right foot and just past the post. They're like rocking now. Don't know where to stand. System's not working, and then we lose them for a bit. And I just think it's this game really showed the difference in our club strategies. I'm not sure if Mikel played against 6 or even 8 Spurs managers in his time. And that means different systems, different strategies. And Spurs, in this game, went from one manager they didn't really like to another one they didn't really know, who brought a new system in, much more man-to-man. And basically, I think we knew their system better than they did, and we had a plan for them. And it's, okay, well, I'm not going to sympathise with Spurs, but I know we get upset with our manager on occasions when he gets something wrong, because that's the nature of fans. You want someone to blame, but gee whiz, mate, we are building something, and they are just tearing it down, and there were spaces appearing on that pitch that just should not be there, and the lack of intensity, the lack of really any sort of quality, it's really concerning. Do you look at their bench, Elliot? And
they're missing an entire 11 players. Yeah. So,
there's a young kid on there.
Careful about sounding like you feel bad for him, though. Just warning.
I mean, they literally got a couple of 16, 17-year-olds on there, and this is it's meant to be a proper club, so, but when it comes down to it, I'm thinking, let's just turn up, because Spurs have got the propensity to play above themselves, particularly against Arsenal. I've seen it before many times. We've played teams as bad as this and drawn or lost the game. And so the way we started the game was really, really bright. And And that's all I cared about, really. With Eze playing in there, that was the key for me because I thought he played really well against Wigan. I thought he should have started the game after. He didn't, and he started this one, and it was his moment. And it needed to go well, but it went better than well for me. This was really important. When you deliver under pressure like this, I think that's really a key attribute. So, yeah, I just liked our pace of pass, ball speed, urgency, pressing, areas by which we played in, how we played in our combination plays, our pairs. I loved it. I loved it all, mate. I thought it was really positive.
Yeah, it was really positive. Let's just get right into the as a aspect of it, though, because from the start, he was really on it. And, they played a back five, and that meant that maybe it was a little harder for them to have as many bodies in midfield. But Eza was getting on the ball. And I mean, this has been the thing with Ebrech Eza. I don't think anyone has ever doubted that if he can get touches in the final third, he's going to provide end product. He's going to create opportunities. He's going to score opportunities. The challenge when he hasn't looked influential is just that he can't get on the ball. And when you saw how he was getting on the ball in this game, I think you had a feeling for what this was going to be like. And maybe it's just something about seeing those Tottenham shirts that he comes to life. But do you have a diagnosis for how we were able to get Eza on the ball? Because from the start, he was looking very, very good and causing them problems.
There's so many angles to go on this. I think Spurs almost played like a 5-2-1. They just didn't know what they were doing in there. And the five at the back is I'm okay with the five at the back. All three at the back. You got to know when you step out and engage. And their three centre backs didn't really step out and engage. So Dragosin got ruined by Gyokeres completely. And Paulinho was just running around in circles, didn't know where to stand. And Van der Ven was really preoccupied with Saka. So it created space for Eze to play in that inside right channel in particular. And Gyokeres really managed the inside left channel. So he really did well to control a part of the pitch that we don't really think he should play a lot in on the right-hand side a little bit. But he floated, and what he really did was just seed off the sides really nicely, turned out of danger, kept the ball moving, efficiency of touches, very few touches, just keeping the ball bouncing and moving, 1 touch, 2 touch maximum. He was just bouncing along with a nice little rhythm. He appreciates other people's movement. Saka's movement to him was really, really good. And they were just preoccupied with that right-hand side in particular. Danny Murphy did a great job on Match of the Day describing what Timber and Saka did on that right-hand side and how they worked together and how they completely slaughtered Spence, Van der Ven, and Papsar was coming over there. And it was just a total domination. We kept feeding that side. Timber kept feeding Saka and they kept working together. And that just broke them apart a little bit. And the gap was significant, and for it to go 1-1 at half time in it was just a travesty. But yeah, I thought with the way we split them apart and had a forward group, it's almost like Eze and Trossard were feeding Gyokeres and Saka. So Gyokeres and Saka were our two forwards, if that makes sense. With Eze and Trossard right up behind them as creative ball players. So I liked it because I think Trossard and Gyokeres, although it wasn't so great in this game, have got a relationship. And we know that Saka and Eze have, and Timber's there filling in behind with Hincapie on the other side. Looked really good, We kept our two in the middle. It looked good. Our centre-backs are great. So it looked good. It felt balanced. It felt like we had a purpose and knew what we were trying to do versus a team that did not know what they were trying to do and hoping something would happen for them. And we gave them something, but then we took it away.
Yeah, and I think this is a game where covering the big moments is actually a nice way to get into it because there were some big moments and big chances. There was just a really nice freedom with the players supporting Gyokeres, and Leo was popping up on the right, and Saka was moving around, and they were struggling to track him. And even though Eze was technically the right 8, he was popping up on the left side. The economy of touches really stood out to me, though. When we're at our worst, everybody gets on the ball and stops and looks around and takes some time. And when we're at our best, the ball moves quicker. And I think Eze is a tempo quickener, certainly with the way he takes 1 or 2 touches to move the ball on. For the first goal, it's interesting because he has a little volleyed attempt at the top of the box.
Yeah.
It's just a lovely piece of technique to take the ball down out of the sky and volley it, but it's blocked. It makes its way back out wide. It's crossed back in. and he volleys it. And I have to admit, I felt this was going to be Ez's day. There's just something about what he did in the last derby and something about him getting out there again today. And sure enough, he gets it started. And obviously, we'll talk about how we gifted them away back into the game. But at that point, did you feel like this could be a hammering? Because my feeling was that it would be very easy to kill Spurs' determination in this game because they're just having such a horrid season and they have so few players available. It felt like that could have been the moment to open the floodgates. And it was certainly well needed because that early period of dominance, Clive, was punctuated by a lot of missed opportunities, right? Like chances to create something in transition where we didn't get the final ball right. So I felt like, it needed to come when it did because there had been a few missed opportunities earlier than that.
Yeah, so with the Wolves game in your mind, you're thinking, come on, we're on top here. Let's make it count. We don't want to do what we did the other day. We took too long to score the first goal and we took too long to score the second goal. When we did, we didn't have our heads on. And so it's really important that we didn't concede after we scored. Of course, we conceded after we scored. and so we all went, oh, no, not again. But I did feel in this game, I didn't see a hammering coming. I was on another list and they're all predicting 4-1. I'm thinking, how did they know? I didn't see that coming.
That was my pre-match prediction.
Yeah. I was thinking, look, just please give me a win. Just stop the rot here. Just give me a win. I don't want the Arsenal world to completely implode because we've lost to Spurs after drawing away at Wolves. Because it's a completely different podcast, Elliot, if we're doing that. So and so that was my major fear going into the game. But once we started to bounce and move around the pitch, there was a gap there. There was. And we were talking last week about not having that big moment in the league for a while. And I think this is a big moment, and I think the players made it a big moment and they enjoyed it like it should be enjoyed, because this doesn't happen all the time. And we shouldn't disrespect it. There wasn't so long ago that they would just rock up and beat us, and when Pochettino was there for a period. So do not disrespect these moments. But I thought we got our, I say statement or signature win, but it's a signature performance, I felt. I think rather than the win, because people say you should beat Spurs anyway. But I thought the performance was really bright. And I don't like to talk about 11s because I think the 11s present themselves to you over a period of time. I think the more we play certain people, the more the best 11 is starting to present itself. And this is the time to have these conversations as we come into the Man City final, things like that. This is the time when Europe comes back around again. This is the time when you have your players in condition and they start to present who they actually are.
Yeah, so the funny thing, and we'll come back to Ez in a moment because I have a question for you about midfield, but what's really, I think, been a through line in this run where we had 10 points from 21 and it 7 games where we hadn't really looked our best, wasn't that we had played terribly. I mean, there were some poor performances, certainly, but that we had gifted opposition ways to get something from a game that they had no business getting something from. In the first half of this game against Tottenham, we had, I believe it was 20, let me actually give you the exact number, 28 touches in their penalty box. And they had 1. And it was the Kolomuani goal. Pardon me, and it just is the case that the bozo gene we used to talk about for so many years has kind of popped its head up recently. Obviously, the Raya error against Wolves comes to mind, the Zubimendi error against United, and then this moment from Rice, and it really did have a Mustafi vibe because he points to his head and says, think, and then he doesn't think, he gets the ball taken off him, and it's a goal, and I also kind of wonder if Raya should have tried to save that with his feet. I'm not sure why he didn't try to kick it.
I looked at that again, and the power of that shot was significant, mate. Yeah. It was through him in a second, but I felt yesterday that maybe he could have done better.
Talk to me about that moment. And in general, I think a Rice game where, and let's be honest, the guy's been at Ballon d'Or level for a lot of this season and he's carried us in moments, but maybe one of his less impressive performances and certainly not a great moment for him there.
Yeah, I think on Rice, I think he went to a different place once we scored the second goal. I think he decided to make sure we didn't lose the game. And he was very much, rather than build-up centric, he's much more duel-centric.
Yep.
He won the most duels in the game. And I think he decided that, okay, I messed up. I got to make sure we don't concede another goal. You
He
know,
went into Conte mode after that. I feel like he was just covering all the ground everywhere.
Yeah, he was really That's how he repairs the damage. If you watch when the goal went in, he started to make lung busting runs forward and not getting the ball, on first phase, and he was, and then he thought, actually, I need to calm down and just secure, and I let Trossard get on the ball, let Hincapie get on the ball, and let me just be there when they disappear and make sure I can fill all the gaps. I don't say worry about his mistakes because they're just mistakes, right? There was one when he cut one out in the second half, which led to a chance where he just sort of overran the ball slightly, sort of stuck in the grass, and this is not like fundamental, we have a problem. I do think there's a level of fragility about us. I don't know how you feel, bit of doomsday. When on the Gabriel push, it's like as soon as that ball got deflected, you thought, we're in a bit of a problem here. You could sense it, couldn't you? You could sense it, the trajectory of the ball, that something could happen. From what? From one cross deflected? Then you have the Rice issue, and there wasn't much else. Xavi Simon's shot was quite sharp. But I think there's a level of fragility, or is that just my fear? But just my fan fear. I don't know, because if you're on YouTube, probably thinking, Arsenal barely give you a touch in their box, let alone fragility. But I do feel we've been punished for very, very little, if you see what I mean. Maximum punishment for not doing much wrong. So that's still in me. So I don't feel as comfortable with us defensively, more from a mistake point of view. But also, I quite like how we ended this game. I like the stability we ended this game with, and I thought it was really good what we did in this game.
Well, this is my point. It is great to be a good team defensively, but weird things happen in football. And they had 3 chances to score goals. 1 they scored, and 2 they didn't. 1 because the ref, let's just say it, gave us a little help. I think bailed us out. And 1 because Raya made an incredible goal line clearance. But they could have had 3 goals. 3 goals from nothing. They created almost nothing but those 3 moments. But we got 4. And so there is something to be said about continuing to put your foot on the gas and continuing to attack with intention, because football's weird like that and teams get goals from nothing. I'll just ask you, since you mentioned it, do you have that as a foul on Gabby? What's your take on that moment?
There are referee things that you do, right? So when a player dives forward and he flicks up both his ankles, and dives forward, referee would always think, you've dived. There are common triggers, right? When you put someone in the back with one arm, say you're competing in the box or in midfield, they let you off. When you compete with 2, they always give it.
Yeah.
They always give it, right? So now it's really interesting that it's an easy trigger for them to give a free kick, but they're not there to judge the force. If you put 2 hands on somebody who's about to leave the ground and he gets pushed forward and he can't get his effort to get up into the air, he can say, well, you've been impeded, and I can give that foul because I've seen what I need to see. I've seen the 2 hands in your back and someone is on the ground and not really competing for it. And he gave it. And of course, when we start to do the pundit stuff afterwards, and the game is won, and they say, well, it could have gone either way. He pushed him. Could he have stayed in his feet? Could he be stronger? I don't give a monkey's, mate. I felt the one at Newcastle, I felt it was worse than that. I felt there was more force in that one. We didn't get it. Go on, stay on your feet. You got to be stronger. What are we talking about here? If you put 2 hands on someone that close to the goal, that affects the goal scoring opportunity, it should be given. I felt the other one should be given. I've seen a couple more that have been using examples. The Ekitike one, I thought that was okay because they were both in the air competing. So they were both at their limit, and he just got there slightly better. But everything else, nah, mate, you should be giving those fouls. It's simple as that. There's no way Colombiani was winning that ball without fouling Gabriel. No way. So
it dropped to his foot. He doesn't even have to head it. That's what tells you he moves Gabby enough that he doesn't even have to jump for it.
Yeah, he separated him, and that's just a foul, move on. But I will say, Gabby has got that thing in him. Got to be honest here, where he goes down to jump up, and if he feels something, he goes forward. And I always say the same thing. Mate, this is England. Mike Oliver's walking around. They can do what they like. They do it on pure vibes. If they feel as though they don't like you this day, they're not going to give it to you, whether it's in the box or not. We've seen it before. Don't risk it. Don't risk it. Make sure you get up in the air anyway, just in case. So that would be my little advice.
Well, and look, ultimately, if you want to talk about deserve. I mean, this is a game where Arsenal massively outshot Tottenham 20-6. We out XG'd them more than 2 to less than 1. We out-touched them in the box 45-7. We out-dueled them 71-49. I mean, it was one-sided, but there are those moments. And I mean, Declan Rice was weirdly involved in the other one too, where he gave it away again for the Raya goal line clearance. In terms of the things that I take away from this game, though, I think look no further than just Eze and Gyokeres and the performance those two put in. So let's talk about Gyokeres for a minute, because I think we do a thing in football sometimes that when someone has a good game, we then pretend they never had a bad game. It's like, see, he proved you all wrong. And it's like, no, you still had some bad games. But this was encouraging. Battled for a lot of balls that he won well. There were, by the way, Tim has made this point. This guy cannot get a foul call. Like he cannot get a call when he loses a duel. It's just play on. But he stuck with it. He got to play 90 minutes, and we talked about this on the instant reaction, but the data was clear when we signed him. This was a 90-minute player who often got stronger as games wore on, much like Declan Rice does. And we saw that with him getting a powerful, strong, well-taken goal in stoppage time at the end of the game. But it's right after halftime. There's going to be doubt because we've conceded, in stupid fashion. We failed to take a number of really clear chances. And there's that question, are we really going to do this again? And it's 3 minutes after the restart. Timber plays the kind of pass we don't usually play, by the way, and we should more. Urgency to get it to zone 14. He gets the ball out of his feet and he strikes it beautifully. And I think all in all, this was a very good Gyokeres game, and a game that gives him something to build on and maybe a blueprint for how the team can play to his strengths as well.
Yeah, Gyokeres' best games have come with Eze with him, or maybe Havertz with him. And I think Gyokeres in this game, I think he passed to Eze the most. I think it's 7 passes he played to him. And that tells you that's a partner. And it's not just the passes, it's the way he affects exits from defenders. And so he affects the defenders, which leaves bits and pieces for Eze, Trossard and Saka to clean up and create quick transitions. So he hasn't even got to win all his duels. He just needs to be there, affecting them, not fouling them, maybe getting the odd foul. I think one of our patrons said something that he's suffering from Shaq rules. Remember when Shaq used to play basketball and never got a foul?
Shaq. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was just too strong. He never got a foul. And I think Gyokeres, he's got that impression that he's really, really strong. So when he hits the ground, there's a tendency to say, get up, son. And rather than look at what's actually happening. So he's not really getting the foul. But he definitely gets confidence from having people close to him, fairly close, that he can work with, spin off of, use as decoys to make the opposite run. And I think, that counter run is really important. And Timbo, I wonder if Timber would have played that pass into that area if it was one man on his own. When you're playing it into 2 men, and they can create something there, and I think that's really important. And Eze sort of rolled away from that space to leave the ball for Gyokeres, and Gyokeres then did the thing that we've all seen on YouTube, and we've been waiting for 5 months. He can kick it, can't he? He just one touch out of his feet, and Elliot, the way he stepped into that ball, mate, he was only going one place, wasn't it? And this is the thing, that the goals don't move, and he's got this power in him. He scored 100 goals in 2 seasons. It's not all lost. And I think some of the analysis around him has just maybe not had the full context of where he is. Even the substitutions, Elliot, I sort of agree with them much of the time, if I'm honest with you. You know why? Because we've got another game in 3 days' time, and he will be playing in that one.
Yeah.
And we can't play him 90s all the time, but he played him 90 in this game because we did have a week off afterwards. And I think, like many people have already noted, including myself, when he comes off, sometimes we lose something. We lose some direction. And we're talking 10-touch games, but we still lose something. Because players need to know where they're passing to, particularly late in games when the stress is on. If you've got an exit you can trust that gets you up the pitch, you will play it to him. If you don't, you will play the ball in the wrong areas and things can happen. Like Manchester United at home. Things happen if you're playing the wrong areas with the wrong level of confidence and the wrong level of next pass ability. And so I must admit, I have been patient with him. I like what he does. I like his style of play. It's not perfect on the eye. It's not Robin Van Persie here. Every touch is like silk. This isn't the same player. He's rough, ready, sometimes not quick enough. Remember the other week I said to you when I was watching him warm up on the subs bench, I think it was against the team he beat in the cup. I've forgotten, sorry. In the cup game,
Wigan?
he was warming up. Wigan, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just looked down and thought he looked slimmer. I couldn't recognise him. Didn't know who he was. He looked fitter, he looked slimmer. I thought,
Declan Rice posted a picture with him where he had his top off, and I'll tell you this much: there's no extra meat on the bones. Yeah, he looks fit. Yep.
Yeah, and so he's just got fitter. Maybe got used to the level. Maybe the level required more from him. But early in the season, there were periods in games when he was running the most. And so there's something in him. I think fitness is his thing, and we don't know what happened post that injury. Because post the Burnley injury, we lost him for a bit, didn't we? Got to be honest, we lost him for a bit. But he's been improving. And this calendar year, he scored more goals than almost any other player in the league, or had more goal involvements in all competitions. And he's on his way. And these 2 goals were like, oh, they're the clips I was watching all last summer before we signed him.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep, I think that's right. And ultimately, there was just something about the dynamic in this game. And look, you can be like, well, the dynamic is that Spurs are shit. Well, Wolves are shit. You know what I mean? You have to beat the teams that are in front of you. And I do think it is just a reminder. We can talk about how everyone's shit, but maybe it's kind of the opposite, because if you look at even the games yesterday, Liverpool needed what I thought was an offside goal deep into stoppage time to beat Forest. And then, but the game before, Chelsea drew Burnley and Villa drew at home to Leeds, right? City looked, I thought, pretty mediocre against a completely shattered Newcastle team that had flown halfway around the world just before the game. So you just have to beat what's in front of you. Yeah. But the Eza and Gyokeres thing looked really, really encouraging to me. There's an interesting thing in this game, Clive, that I think is worth a mention, which is it's sort of a Rorschach test with how you want to see the Bukayo Saka performance, because Saka was involved in almost everything threatening, but he left a lot of opportunities out there. Eza played him in once, a really lovely 1-2. Eza won the ball, played 1-2 with Gyokeres, slipped in Saka. Saka shoots. That's actually, I think, how Eza gets his second goal. There's the Hincapie pass. Hincapie was fantastic in this game. He plays Saka in, and he's 1v1 with the keeper, and instead of rounding him, he tries to, I think, go through his legs, and it's blocked. Saka had a lot of really good opportunities in this game, didn't find the back of the net. So in terms of that Rorschach test, how do you see this? Encouraging sign of his involvement, or that he needs to get his end product right?
You can always say a bit of both, right? But I actually think on the one when Hincapie played around the corner, the goalkeeper was right there. And he tried to bounce it through his legs. The goalkeeper dropped his knee just to close his legs in time. Yeah. And so that was the right thing to do. On the one where it led to the goal, if you watched the tackle coming from the side, the touch was perfect to move it away from him. I think Van der Ven wrapped around and got the challenge in, and it bounced, and obviously we slotted. There was another one when Dragusin came over late and he got a toe on it and he just hit the goalkeeper straight on. If you can tell me if it was anything that he could have done extra, there wasn't much there. There wasn't much in that. And then he had another one where he kicked through legs on the near post and it just went past the post. Again, that can easily go in, and so for me, his I think you said it right. His involvement was really good, and the thing I'm liking at the moment is he's taking responsibility for our attack. He's moving around. His runs are varied. He's running down the centre. He had 2 runs down the centre. The goalkeeper had to come out like Superman and head one away in the first half from a straight run. He's running in behind. And that's a sign, Elliot, that he's feeling fitter. If he's making those long runs, he's starting to drive and go that way, this is a really positive sign that he's rolling into fitness and form. And I felt it. And people are focused on the last action, which is fine. There was a great tweet, I just tried to find it, about how many of our attacks that he was involved in. I'm going to try and find it. It's an incredible number. He was just involved in everything we did. So our threat and the joy we feel today, a lot of it has come from what he did and what Timber did. Again, Manchester United did a great job on Timber and Saka and how they worked together and how they destroyed that side. And I think that's a really good bit of analysis, because when that game was tight, it was all about him. It was all about him, how we get it to him, what he can do, what's come from him. He set up the first goal. He's involved in the third goal. He's just a really, really key player. Defensively, really, really solid. Really strong to keep the ball. Fouled the most in the game, I think he was. Just top stuff. And he's not in form yet. So this should be really encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, look, do I want him to take some of those chances or finish some of those chances? Yes, but like the thing that's been driving me nuts lately is just the lack of involvement from our attacking players in general. The forwards just haven't been as influential as you'd like them to be. And in this game, you know, you look at where the shots came from. Gyokeres had 4 shots. Trossard had 4 shots. Eze had 5 shots. Saka had 5 shots.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want to see. Not just that we had 20 shots. They're not coming from 3 headers from Gabby on a corner and 2 Rice free kicks. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with those, but the attackers were the ones generating the threat, and that will lead to good things. In terms of Eze, one thing that I thought was interesting, by the way, Clive, Mikel was maybe more honest than even he meant to be. You know, he said Eze was mad. He was mad at me for not giving him a chance. And he went out there and he showed that he deserved it, basically. And I think Mikel was very honest about Eberechi Eze making a point. One thing I wanted to ask you about is the dynamic in midfield, because I look at the way Eze was combining with the forwards, and there was really lovely interplay. Like I said, Leo was popping up on the right a lot. Eze, if you want to talk about him as a left wing option, had that moment where he got on the left wing and nutmegged Paulinho and got in on him. That was a beautiful moment for us to transition. Do we need Zubi and Rice all the time? Can it be Rice, Odegaard, and Eze? Can it be a case of Rice plays that Conte role like we talked about, right, where he just kills everything, cleans up every attack? Because we did see in this game some opportunities for Rice to be more of the playmaker. There's the one where actually Gyokeres got some, I thought, unfair criticism where the ball bounces off his heel. I think Rice plays the wrong pass there, right? He's away.
Yeah, he
He's
should have played it in behind.
In behind between the center back and the fullback. But my point is simply that, is there, seeing all this beautiful combination play and movement and freedom, and knowing that Rice can do that role, is there an opportunity for Mikel to even try to get an extra final third oriented player on the pitch? Because I thought Odegaard looked good when he came on as well.
I can't say this, Elliot. You don't like this Rice and Zubimendi thing.
The double pivot thing, I admit, it is.
You have this picture in your mind where you just.
Can I just say one thing? Just stop you for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I love Zubimendi. I think he's been one of the better signings we made in years, and I think he's had a brilliant season. So it's not about Zubimendi. It's just about the dynamic to squeeze more out of this attack. That's all.
So, well, this is it. You see, you need to have a look at this a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. Because we have those 2 players there, we're able to see Hincapie and Timber really affect the attack. If you have just one there, you can't have both your fullbacks doing what they did on the day. You just can't. And if you look at Zubimendi's defensive numbers, I'm sorry, take him out. It's not happening, mate. Honestly, it's not happening. We won't have the stability. You will not see the game. When you think about attack, if I'm thinking about attack, I want to take out as many defensive players as I can and have my attackers on the pitch. If I'm thinking about the game as overall and my structure and where I want to attack and how I want to group my players and overload my players to create the one-on-ones, to create the extra man, to create the acceleration passes, I need to have a structure of stability, knowing I can create waves of attack. If, for example, the ball bounces in midfield and suddenly Declan Rice, who can sweep up, he can go and catch people, but you're not controlling everything. You're putting a lot of onus onto him to cut everything out. You know, even on the chance when Declan sort of messed about, did a flip flap and got caught, Zubimendi was over there. Xavi Simons made a great run in behind him. Declan saw it, covered it, you know, and dealt with it. Now, he was unfortunate, but they work as a pair, right? One goes and engages, one drops in behind, and it's a bit unfortunate. Without that partnership, we don't have the same stability, and we can't get the ball into wide areas with the same frequency. So, Zubimendi for me, I think he's really important, and I think people are looking at him and looking at some of the games where he has looked a little bit fatigued and looking for a problem that isn't there. It just isn't. European Cup final tomorrow, would you pick him?
Yeah. Oh
Zubimendi,
yeah.
I would.
100%.
So
Yeah.
what,
100%.
what?
But what I want, I guess what I would say, right, is Wolves almost certainly won't be in the Champions League final this season.
Mm-hmm.
There are games where I feel that, and maybe this is what's frustrating. Whatever sense of control or structure that double pivot gives us, it is frustrating that we find in certain games we'll take a lead and then suddenly can't find an Arsenal shirt to pass to and can't create the control. That's the whole theory behind why we have this structure in place. So what I loved about this game was the urgency to get it forward, to keep attacking in waves, to keep pushing them back. And, I'd like to continue to see that dynamic. I mean, obviously that's not much analysis. Of course you'd like to see that, but I didn't feel that there were periods of this game that we just sat off or couldn't pass to an Arsenal shirt or couldn't create threat,
Yeah, the more we see an improved Eze, and I'm not, when I say that, I don't want to dismiss what you said. When we talk about a game at 4-1, we can talk about, well, do we need to have both the centre mids there? Well, mate, if we draw that game 3-3, we'd have a different conversation, about what we're doing as a team. I know there are many people that want to see one player standing there and have many attackers on the pitch, 5 attackers on the pitch, and go for it. Maybe Wolves was one of those days. Maybe Elliot, it could be one of those days, and we chose to go another way. And but as I said at the time, we were 2-0 up, and the job was done. It was on us. We didn't keep the ball. As a team, we were inaccurate. I don't think we respected the game appropriately, and we paid for it. This time, we fixed it, and so yeah, I just that day will come. It will come. It'll be obvious, right? So and some people say, why isn't Norgard getting minutes late in games? So people are going to have their views on it. I happen to really like that structure we have at the moment, and what's more importantly, I think we're finding Gyokeres and Eze, and I think that's key. There are 2 marquee signings. We're finding them. Hincapie's burst into the team, and we're finding people. Havertz is a few days away. Saka's on his way back. Madueke's had an impact. So yeah, we're on the way. We're on the way.
Well, I hope that's right, because it was a hell of a lot of fun. And I mean, if you could have drawn up what you'd want from a game like this, 4 goals, a big win, and Eze and Gyokeres both starring, that's what you draw up, and that's what you got. I do want to talk about the fullbacks. I want to talk about Mosquera, a little bit more about some of the big moments in the game and what the manager had to say about it. So let's get to all that. But I should, not just should, I must tell you about NordVPN. NordVPN, I just used NordVPN recently, actually, and I will be using it again this week as I travel to London, because sometimes when you're in places that aren't your main place, stuff you want to watch isn't available. And it is the case in this internet world that we live in, that you should be allowed to watch everything regardless of where you are. And NordVPN is the way you can do that. You simply put it on your phone, your tablet, your computer. You tell it where you want to browse, and you're browsing there. Very highly rated for speed, by the way, because the one thing you don't want is to have a VPN that then slows down your internet. So that's an important thing to know about. A VPN can actually help you avoid ISP connection throttling. So there you go. Even better there. So I think it is a great way to watch the things you want to watch, see the things you want to see where you are. NordVPN is going to give you a great value. And let me read that out to you. Here we go. 4 bonus months on top of your huge discount. And it's completely risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So go to nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision, nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision, nordvpn.com/ArsenalVision. Do not Clive. Is that enough of that?
Indeed.
Got it. Okay. Well, yeah, but before we get to Mosquera, I mean, I think the fullbacks, all the fullbacks have played. Hincapie, Timber, and then Mosquera all had a great day. They were all an important part of this. Hincapie, really, I mean, this is what you love about competition, right? Right now, he's saying, it's my shirt. He's defending well. He's getting forward well. He played in Saka, as we mentioned earlier. I thought he had a really good, strong game, coming off the Wolves game where he was probably the only one that came away with credit. Timber, much better in this game than we'd seen. He played the ball in Gyokeres for his goal, but then he comes off and Mosquera comes on. It's no stress. I wish Mikel would have done it against Wolves, to be honest. He looked fantastic. So a great game for the fullbacks. I think they all come out with credit.
Yeah, I think I heard Tom Canton say this morning that Timber had an injury and could only go 60, 70 minutes. That injury was picked up in the Wolves game, and maybe he should have come out in the Wolves game, as you said, Elliot. So his performance for the first hour and 10 was heroic. and was really effective in our attack. I think sometimes when we're analysing Timber, we remember the last 15 minutes, where I don't think he's brilliant in the last 15 minutes of games, and I think he does too much running, too much work, and can destabilise us a little bit, depending on the game state. Hincapie, I like him. I like what he's. I'm not sure what we knew what we bought. I think we thought we were buying a centre back, and I think we bought a fullback. And I think he's very, very good at it. I think he's got a good attacking instinct. He transmits warrior tendencies. He goes through people. He tears through people. He's very, very abrasive. He's got a lovely left foot that's now showing different layers to that. He's got a lovely soft cross, and he's developing into something, and he's challenging Calafiori, shall we say, who is a magnificent player, particularly on build-up, and he's really challenging those guys. And Mosquera, well, I just wonder what we have. Seriously, he just locked it down, didn't he, completely? And we've talked about Norgard coming in late in games to lock down potentially. And I think Mosquera can come in late in games and really do things defensively to make sure he just wraps his legs around people, just takes it off them, doesn't do too much, wins it in the air, good for late set pieces against us, Just make the change while you have the squad. You have the squad for just this moment. And he comes in, there's just no drama with him. He comes in and looks completely part of it again. Elliot, he's only 21 years of age in his first season. Mate, we got a player in our hands here. I'm talking future world star player in our hands. At centre-back position or defending positions, they tend to mature with age. We got Hincapie 23, Sleeper 24, Mosquera 21, Calafiori 23. I mean, this is a joke, isn't it? It's a joke.
Yeah. I mean, really, really exciting. And I have to say, this is why you just keep attacking, you just keep scoring goals, by the way, though, because everybody can remember the Martinelli miss against Forest, right? Everybody can remember
I can.
it. Yep. The Martinelli miss against Wolves. We can remember the misses. But when you score 4, no one's really talking about Gyokeres whipping one just past the post when he cut inside, or Bukayo Saka being in 1v1 with the keeper missing, or missing near post, or because we scored 4 goals. The reason you focus on misses tends to be that you didn't create enough. And what I love is in this game, we created enough to make the misses an afterthought. This was a powerful attacking performance. And I think Mikel said something about this if today showed how the attackers can unlock themselves. Yes, I think they have some very, very good moments with the amount of goals and performances and wins that we have in every competition. They're showing that. But you have to show it when it matters and when it's really on the edge and people are doubting. That's when you have to stand up. It's very difficult to do. But today, I think individually they had some huge performances, and I'm very pleased to see that. But on Eza, I thought this was interesting, and I do want to just double click on this with you for a minute. On if you knew about Eza's goal-scoring prowess in the second half of seasons. We looked at every stat, but that one, to be very honest, no. I mean, he scored 5 goals in the last 2 games against them, which is extremely difficult to do. But I could see that he wanted to prove something. He was upset, even with me, because I didn't play him in the other day from the beginning and some of the decisions that I made. And I start to understand how we're going to get the best out of him now. That last line is very interesting. Yeah. I'm curious if you can parse that for us.
Well, only from listening to Dan from HTLCO, whatever he's called.
HLTCO. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Elliot. A bit dyslexic there. Basically, Dan, you listen to him talk about Eze, and he sort of says, what he's like, he's goal scoring late in seasons, but he also said something that really stayed with me. He'll be in and out of games on occasions. 1 minute he's there, next minute he's not. He can run a game completely, another game not be there. But you've got to show him some love. And for anyone who was at the Wigan game, like I was, Eze was the best player on the pitch. He had about 55 shots, and every one of them went bang, bang. I could hear it from the stand. He was really trying to show something. And I thought the very next game, for him not to play, I thought it was a mistake. It was clear to me he should have played that Wolves game, because you have to play the hot hand. He dominated the Wigan game. He got some confidence. You have to play the hot hand. We played Martinelli in that game. I think it was the wrong balance in that front line. Play Eze with the 2 runners, it would have been absolutely fine. I'm sure he'd have scored. And so, I hope he knocked the manager's door and said, mate, what about me? He said, all right then, let's see what you got. And he showed what he got against Spurs. And that's what you got to do. There comes a moment where you have to take control of your own career. And I hope he knocked his door. And then also, you got to back it up. If you're going to say, I'm projecting here, Elliot. If you're going to be disappointed in the manager's decision, you got to admit that they may have had a conversation, and he decided to go with him, and he's delivered. And hey, look, not before time, really. This player is so important to our end of season. For those Eze watchers, this is how he ends the season. And another thing Dan said, he scores goals for the end of the year. And this is his time now. And I know I said it on podcast before, but I know this is where Mikel's head is going. I'm sure of it. PSG, toward the end of last season, they were in condition to play. Their players were fit. They're ready to go. And they turned it on for the last 2 months and won their league and won the Champions League. And they were the best team in the world until they ran out of puff to them when they played Chelsea in the World Cup final. This is what we're aiming for, to peak at the right time. And Eze is a big part of that. Gyokeres is a big part of that. Saka is a big part. And there's a reason why we've been careful with Havertz, because he's a big part of it. And I may have named my preferred front four there. For those who think I've been having this front four in my mind for a long time. But it's about when that front four presents itself, I think that can go anywhere in the world with that group.
Yeah.
And they can fix any problem that you have. And so we got to wait. It doesn't matter. Soon. Give it a while. It won't be long.
I wonder, when he says, I think I'm figuring out how to get the best out of Eze, or the exact quote, I guess, is I start to understand how we're going to get the best out of him now. I look at his heat map in this game. There's a big glowing spot on the left wing. There's a little glowing spot on the right wing. There's a big glowing patch all across the middle, right at the top of the final third. And there's a little glowing patch, deeper around the center circle. And to me, to my untrained eye, it looked like his role was pretty free. And to your point, he had that double pivot to create that cradle so he could be free.
Shut me up there.
Yeah, he had those three behind the striker kind of exchanging roles, but I don't know that you can make him a reference point and say, you stand here in the right half space between the lines and you wait till the ball comes to you. I don't know that he can influence games that way. In this game, it felt like he had more freedom. Maybe it's hard to know chicken or the egg, right? Did it feel like he had more freedom because he did things he doesn't usually do, or was he given a freer role? But if that freer role is what got this performance out of him, then I think you've got the blueprint right there.
Yeah, the touches were varied. He received the ball off the sides a lot. We said it yesterday, didn't he? Loads of no-touch turns around the corner. Yeah. He's got the power to accelerate away for people, and they stay away. Then he's got the room to make the shot. If he stays in contact, he can buy fouls if he needs to. He's got danger. He's 2-footed, right? So if the ball's on his left side, it goes. If it's on his right side, it goes. If he needs a left foot shot, he'll take it. A right foot shot, he'll take it. He just needs to get on the ball a little bit more. I think we all want to see him on the ball a bit more. I think we all recognise that he's not ball dominant like Odegaard is, but he's better than what he's shown. And you have to work harder to get to the sides, to connect off the sides. And I thought he did. But when he did, he got a lovely sway around the corner. Just really, really positive. So yeah. He's a player that you've liked more than me, I'll be honest with you. Remember, you're the one who's been on this one for a long time.
Yeah.
When I was watching Palace, I was much more, my eyes were going towards Michael Elise, to be honest. I thought that's the player we should go. But now I know more.
I'd take Michael Elise, of course.
But given that we had so many lefty creators, it just didn't seem to match. And Eze, I was always unsure about, and I thought his finishing was a bit loose. But he fixed that last year at Palace, and when he came in, it just fitted us. But then he was sort of caught in between, maybe, but a bit like Smith Rowe was, in between positions. But I do think you can see a cradle appearing with Hincapie, around him being quite active, with Rice around him being an active runner, with Gyokeres potentially ahead of him. You can see a little pocket there, can't you, where he can play within. And once he can receive it, all those targets and movers and threat around him, I think there's a potential. In the end, right, Elliot, he looks like an Arsenal player. He receives the ball, and we said it yesterday, he interrupts the flow of a team and creates new pictures for people. And some of the chances we made yesterday, they look surprising to me. You know, they were nice and new and fresh. We were talking a week or so ago, everyone was online talking about Arsenal lack central access. We weren't talking about that yesterday, were we? No. Central access are plenty, people close proximity, popping the ball off to each other, quick transitions. It's a really top performance, really top.
Yeah, and look, David Raya unfortunately made the error that cost us 2 points against Wolves. Do you think it's nice for, I mean, look, it's never nice when Spurs look like they might score a goal, but do you think it's nice for him that he had that moment? It's a sensational piece of reaction from him to get that ball off the line. Do you think it's just sort of nice for him to have a moment that feels important where he gets back a little bit of credit in the bank that he lost? I mean, doesn't get his points back, but it's just, he had a much better game and he had a critical intervention that saves a goal, and maybe that's a nice way for him to bounce back.
Yeah, I thought his claiming was really, really good because they were putting crosses in. I was pleased to see him come and take them, punch him where he needed to. I think it's Tim saying that today, summarising, saying basically he's better from 3 yards out than he is from 33 yards out. And I think sometimes the bit that's worrying me are the longer shots, you know, and but around his box, he's super sharp, he's super agile, isn't he? And there's something about, I know it sounds really, I almost expect him to make that save. I know it sounds crazy, but that's the sort of thing he does, just leaps on it. The double penalty saves that he's done in the past, you know, double saves off the crossbar, Lee Watkins, turn around, save it.
Yeah.
He's just very, very agile when you least expect it, sort of thing. So some of his distribution, just particularly to Saka, was so important to us. Yeah. They're going man to man around the pitch, right? So we're dragging them into areas they don't want to go, and ping, he goes straight in behind them with quality. Players are running onto it. We just didn't have this before. You know, he is critical to us. We all wish he was maybe 3 inches taller, maybe, but he maybe wouldn't be as agile, right? So
yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just the way it is. But as a footballer, he's excellent. I think my only critique of him, I got to say, sometimes when he's made a big save or we're taking a big catch, he's looking to throw the ball out sometimes before we're ready. Yeah. And I'm thinking, you know, I think just chill sometimes, read the room a little bit. That's just my little thing, you know, because I've still got a couple of mistakes in my mind. But apart from that, I thought he was really, really good in this game, and needed it.
Yeah, and I also think the team deserves credit, by the way, for not letting all the stoppages disrupt our ability to stay in flow, because you had the technical issues with the referee, and there were some very long stoppages. Then there were some injury stoppages, you know, players down, things like that. And we have seen at times when these games get like that, where there's just a lot of stoppages. The Wolves game was like that. We got off to a super hot start, and then players were going down, and there were stoppages. Yeah. And sometimes we fall victim to letting that slowing of the game slow our game, but we never did that in this game. We stayed dialed in, which I think was great. Gyokeres plays the full 90, as we mentioned, and he gets the goal at the end. And, you know, granted, bullying Archie Gray isn't exactly the world's most incredible accomplishment, but it is a lovely bit of running in behind, staying strong, and finishing beautifully into the side netting. And I just wonder if this is going to be a turning point for Mikel with this player, Clive, in terms of, I want to be careful, because I think Gabriel Jesus has given us more this season than I already expected, or ever expected. But I do think that we probably have the better chance if Gyokeres is in form and is playing. And I wonder if you think seeing him get that goal, 90+4, having that run still in him, that strength still in him, that finish still in him, will just give Mikel a little bit of a mind to not be so quick with the hook. And just so we're clear, because you said this was as we should say it with Gyokeres, there have been games where he hasn't earned the extra time on the pitch. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that he's been unfairly hooked at 60 minutes. But do you think that seeing that might lead Mikel to just say the next time he's thinking about making that change?
Yeah, Gyokeres is a fitness athlete. He's got that power in him. But even on that goal, right, one thing he does really well, Elliot, is he never goes offside. He says now, he's going to go offside. But if you watch his running angles, they're excellent. To stay onside, to drive people back. But he really does create an angle to run onto. But when he received that ball, if you look at it closely, he sort of half steps on it to create the angle. It's not tidy. It's not exact. But the tidiest bit is the ball striking.
Oh, yeah. Both of his goals.
Just pure.
And I think he's a little unlucky with the one he whips past the post, by the way. He does really, really well with that move to cut inside. And that's the kind of stuff where he's often not kept the ball close enough and lost it. And in that instance, he beats his man well, and he just just a bit
So
wide of the post.
on that one, when we're doing our scouting of him, as he's rolling inside, he does his normal bumble. Then he cuts it away. The last touch before the strike is beautiful. It opens up the goal and he sweeps into the corner, and that went past the post, and everyone went, whoa, like that, you know. There's his potential. And like we saw it in Lisbon, we saw his power on his free kicks. Remember the free kicks he hit? It's like, flipping hell, if that goes in, we're in trouble. You know, someone's got to take their head off. You know, it was that powerful. And so, yeah, pleased for him. Pleased that he lasted the 90. Because the game was competitive and he wanted to win it, it's important to have that direction that he offers. And he's a focal point. He's a bustling focal point. So because he's not tidy, don't leave him on his own. Get around him so he can affect people. And he did. And he had his most touches, Elliot, didn't he, in this game he's ever had. He had 40-odd touches. Mate, we've seen him have 8. You know, and
created chances, was good on the ball.
Really, really good. This is a really promising day. He says, hoping for the future this continues. But if it does, for those people who want to centre forward, maybe since Aubameyang was here, that we might finally have one.
Yeah. And look, you look at Spurs, because sometimes you need a laugh, and they are a bit of a cautionary tale there, but for the grace of God, go I. You know what I mean? Like, we're here complaining because we've dropped stupid points in a title race, and that's totally understandable, by the way. We should complain about that. But, you know, you make a few wrong appointments, you make a few wrong decisions, and suddenly it's a mess. And it's not just Tottenham. You look at United, all right, maybe they're starting to fight their way back to relevance, but they're still a long way from competing for anything. You look at Chelsea, the amount they've spent, the mess they've been in, their inability to really pull together a legitimate challenge. Like, we deserve a lot of credit for the position we put ourselves in. Now we just have to get it over the line. And one thing I was thinking about, this is the weirdest season imaginable in this respect. If I told you we don't win the league this season, forget the cups, we're just going to talk context league. If I told you we don't win the league this season, where do you rank this season in the last 20 years? For me, it'd be down near the bottom, genuinely. If I told you we do win the league this season, it's our best season in 22 years. Nothing even close. And it's so unusual to be in a situation where your season is either going to be the best you've had in 2 decades or one of your least favorite. So it is just down to what we do from here. But at least they gave us another really high moment this season. This season hasn't maybe delivered the number of high moments in the league you'd like. The United loss, the Liverpool loss and draw, the City draw, the 10-man Chelsea draw, hopefully another big Chelsea win coming this weekend. But maybe it hasn't given us as many high moments as we'd like. The Newcastle win obviously up there, but the derbies have been great. This was another chance to just enjoy an excellent Arsenal battering a weak Tottenham. And I will take that for as long as the league wants to serve it up. So now, Clive, as a final question, we did the job. We looked great. We emptied their stadium. We humiliated their miserable fans in front of their Arsenal supporting manager. It was a beautiful day for us. Gyokeres gives the manager something to really cling to in terms of feeling he's the right guy for the job. If Mikel is to be trusted when he says, I think I figured out how to use him, that can only bode well for us. And we get a week to prepare. Now, Mikel was asked if he would let the players have cocktails this week. He said no. Mikel, don't worry, mate. I got you. Okay? I got you. I got you. Don't worry. But with a week off, this is perfect. You come off a really big emotional high. You come off a moment of players who needed a big performance getting it. And now you have Chelsea, another game that matters outside of the context of the title because we hate them. So this is big having this week, isn't it? This has fallen for us the way we probably needed it to.
Yeah, the performance was really uplifting. And you could see that in everyone's faces. You saw when Berta and Mikel were hugging after the game. It meant a lot, this game. And I think maybe, although we've been talking about keeping people engaged and keeping people on the right side of things to support the team, etc., and maybe turn the volume down, there's been various words coming out of it, but big wins really help. They really help bring the joy back. And when you got the joy that you see coming out of Eze and Gyokeres in this day, the way Saka played, the way Timber played, you know, the way we managed that game in the key parts of the game. Mate, there's a lot of good things there. And we spoke yesterday about this, about trying to enjoy it. You know, Mikel trying to give off the vibe that he's enjoying it. I think it's very important that he creates an atmosphere like, well, we're good. We've done our training. We're fit. We know what we're doing. We're prepared. We're organised. We have made different structures, different faces, different rotations. I've got to take the stress away from this group in any which way I can, and because you're the captain, you're the leader, you're the ones that everyone's looking at. And I think if he can give that vibe, I think Pep's trying to do that. He's trying to say, I'm going on holiday, I'm not watching the Arsenal game. He's trying to make everyone think, it's okay, lads, this is what we do. We're Man City. They're not very good. But psychologically, they've done this before and we haven't. So how we do it is really important. And I think if we can make it look almost like a swan, pretend you're just floating along the surface, but working really hard and beneath quietly. But make people relax. Make the players relax, because they look like a relaxed group of players that have the right mentality for this game. It really looked like it to me. And I think if we can do that, Elliot, and keep winning football matches, it's easier to stay relaxed and we win, right? So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, amen, Clive. What a day. I mean, and I have to admit, I want it so bad for me, of course. I want it so bad for all of us. And when you go and do something like go to Dallas and you meet new people and everybody's gotten together and you make a big event out of it and you just see how much people care and how good everybody is and how much they want this together. It really is the case that everybody's just ready to explode with joy. It's there. Yeah. And I'm so glad this day went well. I think the league, Tim called this so early and he was so right that title races aren't fun, especially when it's been 22 years since your last one. And so to have a day that's just fun, where the memes are good and the content is good and the Tottenham manager's calling us the best club in the world and, you're scoring 4 goals and your 2 players that you're really looking for something in Eze and Gyokeres shine. It is a beautiful thing. And I think seeing a little glimmer of Saka coming back to his best, it's an encouraging day. It's a fun day. It's a day that we needed and sets us up really well for what's ahead. I think, look, when you drop points to a team like Wolves, you don't have a lot of credit in the bank to say turning points and turning this and turning that. You have a turning point and you have another turning point. But I think it's set up well to have these 2 derbies separated by a week, games that matter, games that we can focus on in isolation instead of, when you play a Wolves in a title race, you're almost not playing Wolves, you're playing the title. When you play at Tottenham, when you play at Chelsea, you're playing them. And I think that's probably good for these players in their mindset. Because what I've seen from this team is when we just focus on the game at hand, when we're just playing Bayern or just playing Tottenham, we can be pretty good. So let's hope we can be good again. I can't wait to be there for it. We'll have the Academy pod tomorrow, the rewatch on Wednesday, the main pod on Thursday, maybe a Friday night Clive on Friday. We'll see about that. And then obviously the instant reaction from the ground on Sunday. So cannot wait for all of it. Up the Arsenal. St. Tottenham's Day, I think, could come as soon as next weekend, which is incredible. So, Clive, we will be together for a cuddle and a drink to celebrate that. Mikel, again, don't worry. We got you on the cocktails. Mate, thank you so much. Just one drink. Yep.
Just thank you very much.
All right. My name's Elliot Smith. We love you, and we will talk to you after Arsenal's Expert. No.